Agile is no longer the new kid on the block, but for most companies, an agile transformation still feels like a leap of faith. If expectations are sky high, agile is supposed to double your speed to market, greater, drastically increase your customer satisfaction, quality, efficiency, and reduce costs. That's a lot, and it's not cheap. Companies are expected to give millions of dollars to consulting companies, to people in the organization, to transform the organization into this agile way of working. But can these claims be backed up with real numbers? Can we prove the return on investment? Well, easier said than done. I recently reviewed the latest State of Agile survey. Thousands of companies providing insights all compiled in a report. I wanted to see how other companies are measuring the success of Agile, what metrics they are using. Generally speaking, there's two ways to measure the impact of Agile. First is to measure the continuous improvement. You set a baseline as soon as you implement Agile. The Agile way of working, you set a baseline, and then you can show that this baseline in terms of delivery, in terms of quality, speed to market, all these other metrics are improving gradually the more the company is using this agile way of working. The second way of measuring this is to compare this new method of working with the old waterfall model or the thing that you were using previously. Ask any agile coach or scrum master and they will always tell you to measure the success of agile using the first method. Obviously using the first method, continuous improvement, showing the stakeholders, directors, that Agile is helping the team to continuously improve. Every metrics are gradually increasing and improving over time. But this takes time. It's hard to measure, hard to prove. Directors don't have time for that. Often you'll see stakeholders telling you, management telling you, no, let's compare this new way of working with a older method, the waterfall model. But the problem is that most metrics used to track success in this waterfall model context don't naturally translate to this agile way of working. No, they don't. Look at the assembly line approach. An assembly line, it's called manufacturing assembly line. If you're trying to track the success, measure the success of Agile like an assembly line in terms of productivity, you've already lost. Agile is not about making people work the full day, focused, 24/7. The thing is working. People are working, no breaks, no experimentation, no testing, no thinking. We are just assembling things mindlessly. Agile is not about this. An example I often see is measuring lines of code. Yeah, the more lines of code a developer writes, it means that the developer is productive, efficient, providing value. Agile is not about quantity or output. It's about outcome, key results, what we are giving the customer, the experience of a customer, how the customer is experiencing the product. That's what's important, not the amount of codes that are being written. I know some companies that also try to measure agile projects running right now with past created plans. So someone somewhere created a plan using the waterfall model that a project manager could follow in theory. And then we're trying to measure this past created plan with actual results of an agile project. Obviously, there's no match. This one is a false plan, it's a prediction compared to a real plan, the agile plan running right now with all the issues, all the impediments. You need to compare like to like. So how do you measure this agile transformation? How do you measure success? Many companies like using the one metric approach, one metric that rules them all to measure success. A single metric like the Net Promoter Score used to measure the success of this agile transformation and the success of the products being developed. I don't like this approach because it causes tunnel vision. You're not seeing anything else except this Net Promoter Score. What about sustainability? What about costs? What about tech debt? What about the frequency of release? All these other things also need to be measured. You need to broaden your view instead of having this tunnel vision, but not broaden too much so that there's miscommunication or misalignment, everyone is going into multiple directions. I like using 4 metrics to measure the success of Agile in an organization. The first metric I like using is cycle time, which measures the elapsed time when we start work on an item until delivery. It measures productivity of the team. The less the cycle time is, the more we can produce within a given time frame. It doesn't mean that you need to track this manually. You can use your work tracking tool. Some people use Jira that will automatically calculate this metric for you, and you can use this data in your sprint retrospective to talk about productivity, how to increase productivity within the team. The second metric that I like using is escaped defect rate, which is the percentage of problems that occur after a product has been released to customers. Defects, bugs, but not within the sprint. Nope, that's something else. If an issue happens during the sprint, meaning that something is not meeting the definition of done, don't track this. We're talking about escaped defects. Everything is done, and so at some point we release it to the customers, and the customers are experiencing a certain kind of defect, a certain kind of bug or a problem. That's an escaped defect. We need to measure this in terms of percentage. With this metric, we are measuring quality, and the general consensus is to not go below 85%. Even 90% in terms of defect-free releases. Quality, extremely important, should be your primary focus in the sprint. Another metric that I like using is planned to done ratio. Meaning in the sprint, we are planning to do things. The sprint backlog, the developers are deciding on a list of items in the sprint. Task, user stories, a list of story points to commit on. Let's say they committed on 100 points. And at the end of a sprint, they only completed 50 points, meaning that the plan to done ratio, 50%, that's not a good ratio. We need to go at least 80%, 85%, 90%, or even 100% of plan to done ratio. This metric shows whether a team is predictable or not, and management, they love this metric. They love it because if the team can commit on a certain amount of things to do, and they do it, that's incredible. If we can do it for a sprint, we can do it for future sprints, and we can plan for the next 3 months. Quarterly planning, release planning. Management love this metric. I like tracking also. Happiness metric. Basically, the team health. How healthy is the team? Are we feeling good in the team? Extremely important to track this, because if all these other metrics, the 3 metrics that we talked about, are good, the cycle time is perfect, everyone is working optimally, productivity is incredible in the team, but the happiness metric is low. It means that the team is not sustainable. The pace is not sustainable. The team morale is low, and people will be burning out soon. I love these metrics because they work so well together. Let's say in a sprint, cycle time crashes. It means that we are producing way more in the sprint. We are being productive, but it can also mean that the escaped defect ratio will increase simply because we are doing too much in a sprint, and this is impacting the product, less in terms of quality. Planned to done ratio. The team usually does around 70% of things planned to done. In a sprint, we are now doing 95%, 100%. That's incredible. Very good. Bravo to the team. But at the same time, the cycle time is gradually increasing also. Very high, the cycle time. Meaning that even though we are committing to what we said we would do, we are doing exactly that. The cycle time is high. We are not producing enough. We are committing to what we said we would do, but not producing stuff. We are not releasing things to customers. That's bad. See how all these things are linked together? Happiness. Everything is good. All the metrics are good. Perfect. But happiness is down. Low morale. The team will burn out. All the things work in synergy, these metrics. I like using these metrics instead of tracking the velocity like most people do. What about you? Leave down a comment. Let me know what metrics you use to check, to ensure that Agile is working in your organization, in your team. Which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.